The seeker often begins the journey with a heavy heart and a mind full of noise, wondering how transformation occurs when the very entity seeking change is the obstacle itself. It is a mystery that has puzzled many, leading them to ask, why do people who question the self change radically? Alan Watts explored this fluidity, yet the silence of the heart reveals that the change is not an addition of new qualities, but a subtraction of the false. When the question, who am I, is turned inward like a sharp sword, it cuts through the dense layers of accumulated identity, leaving only the pure, immutable presence that was always there, waiting to be recognized by no one. The mind cannot comprehend this shift, because the mind is the very thing that dissolves in the light of inquiry, just as a shadow cannot understand the sun that obliterates it. To question the thinker is to realize that there is no thinker, only thoughts arising in the vast emptiness of consciousness, creating the illusion of a separate entity that claims ownership over every sensation. The radical change observed is not a change in the person, but the disappearance of the person, leaving behind a vessel through which the universal intelligence flows without the friction of egoic resistance. You strive to become something better, yet the only true becoming is the unbecoming of everything you imagined yourself to be. A process that feels like dying while you are still alive. This death of the ego is the birth of the real, a state where you do nothing, yet nothing remains undone, and the frantic search for peace is replaced by the peace that passes all understanding. The mind believes in a journey from ignorance to enlightenment, plotting a course through time, but the self knows no time, for it exists only in the eternal now where the past and future are mere shadows. The radical shift occurs when the seeker realizes there is nowhere to go and no one to arrive, collapsing the timeline of suffering into the single point of absolute presence. You search for the light by running away from the darkness, not realizing that the one running is the shadow itself. And only by standing still does the shadow vanish into the source of light. It is a movement of stillness, a thunderous silence that shatters the chains of karma without lifting a finger, revealing that the destination was always the starting point. Pain is felt, but when the inquiry deepens, the one who claims to suffer cannot be found, revealing the great cosmic joke that the prisoner and the warden are the same illusory ghost. The transformation is radical, because it removes the hook upon which the world hangs its heavy coat of duality, rendering the events of life transparent and weightless to the one who no longer claims them. To lose the self is to gain the universe, for when the boundary of the skin is no longer the limit of your being, the stars and the dust become your very own body. You are the screen upon which the movie plays, untouched by the fire or the flood within the scene, witnessing the drama without ever becoming a character in the script. Intellectual understanding is a golden cage, while true wisdom is the open sky. Yet the mind tries to capture the sky within the cage, thinking that possessing the concept of freedom is the same as being free. The one who questions the I destroys the very instrument of measurement, realizing that the measurer is a hallucination and the measured is a dream, leaving only the immeasurable silence of the heart. It is a knowledge that knows nothing, a fullness that is completely empty, a presence that is defined by the absence of all definitions and limitations. This is the great paradox. You must use the mind to destroy the mind, burning the stick that stirs the funeral pyre until both are consumed by the flames of realization. The change is described as radical not because the external world alters its chaotic dance, but because the internal anchor has been lifted, allowing the ship of life to drift on the ocean of grace. The specific character traits may remain as patterns of the past, but there is no longer a driver gripping the wheel in fear, for the surrender is total and absolute. It is the realization that you are not the wave crashing on the shore, but the ocean itself, vast and deep, watching the surface turbulence with a serene and detached compassion. The questioner dissolves into the answer, and the silence that follows is the only true speech, communicating that which words can never contain. Before we go to the next part of the video, I want to hear from you. Write your name and the city you're watching from in the comments below. Also, share the biggest difficulty or situation you're dealing with right now. And type this sentence in the comments. I'm ready for a new level of awareness. I always read the comments and love seeing this community grow around the world. And if you haven't yet, take a second to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's coming next. When the false center collapses, what remains is not a void of nothingness, but a plenum of awareness that is both vibrant and still, a silence that speaks louder than any scripture or sermon ever could. This silence is not the absence of sound, but the background of all sound.
For most of your life, you believed you were your thoughts. You believed the mind had to be fixed, silenced, controlled. But no one ever told you this. The mind was never the problem. The real trap is believing you are it. There is something in you that watches fear, that watches pain, that watches every thought arise and disappear. That observer has never suffered. It was never born, and it will never die. When this is seen, effort disappears. The spiritual search ends, because the one who was searching was never real. This is not a teaching to believe in. It is a direct experience, simple and deeply liberating. The book, The Awakening of the Observer, does not teach techniques. It points to the exact place where the ego dissolves. Each page is a mirror, and what is seen there cannot be unseen. If something in you recognizes these words, the call has already begun. Click the link in the comments and get your copy of The Awakening of the Observer now.
The canvas upon which the noise of the world is painted and then erased in the same breath. The radical change is the shift from identifying with the painting to identifying with the canvas. A shift that renders the drama of life into a play of light and shadow. You are the witness who never sleeps, observing the waking and dreaming states with the same indifferent love, knowing that the reflection in the mirror is not the face itself. True love arises only when there is no other to love. For in the dissolution of the ego, the illusion of separation vanishes, and one sees only the self reflected in every pair of eyes. This is a detached love, not cold or distant, but free from the sticky grasp of possession and the desperate need for reciprocation that plagues the human heart. By being nobody, you become everybody. And in this emptiness, you find the capacity to hold the sorrow of the world without being drowned by it. It is the ultimate contradiction, to care for everything by caring for nothing, to hold the world close by letting it go completely, resting in the unity that precedes all division. The cessation of the search is the beginning of the finding. For as long as you seek, you affirm that you do not have, pushing the realization of your own nature into an imaginary future. The radical change is the sudden stop, the dropping of the burden, the realization that the treasure you sought was buried beneath the very spot where you stood begging. You do not gain enlightenment. You lose the delusion that you were ever unenlightened, realizing that the chains were made of mist and the prison door was never locked. The greatest effort is to make no effort, to rest in the natural state that requires no maintenance. For what is real cannot be lost, and what is false cannot be kept. The ego prides itself on its choices, believing it steers the course of destiny, yet the awakened one sees that all actions are movements of the totality, arising spontaneously like the wind or the tide. To question the self is to see that the chooser is a phantom, and that life happens through you, not by you, liberating the heart from the crushing weight of responsibility and regret. You are lived by the power that spins the galaxies, and in this surrender, there is a freedom that the kings of the earth can never know. It is a deterministic freedom, where the acceptance of what is becomes the only true free will, aligning the personal will with the universal flow until they are indistinguishable. The body continues its destiny, eating, sleeping, and aging. But to the one who has questioned deeply, the body is merely a leaf blowing in the wind, distinct from the vast sky of awareness. The pain of the body is felt, yet it is not my pain. Just as the clouds are not the property of the sky, floating by without leaving a scar on the infinite blue. This radical change brings a lightness of being, where death is seen not as an end, but as the dropping of a costume when the play has finished. The actor remains untouched by the tragedy of the role, smiling at the absurdity of the drama, knowing that the screen is never burnt by the fire in the movie. Ultimately, there is no one who changes and no change that takes place, for the self is immutable, eternal, and perfect, untouched by the illusions of time, space, and personality. The radical transformation is merely the wiping of a dirty mirror, revealing the sun that was always shining, obscured only by the dust of mistaken identity. You are that which you seek, and the seeking is the only barrier to the seeing, a cosmic game of hide and seek played by the one alone. To know this is to be this, and to be this is to vanish into the radiant darkness of the Absolute, where the question and the questioner are both consumed in silence. If something in this video spoke to your heart or helped you look at your life from a deeper perspective, please subscribe to the channel and share this message with friends or family who might also benefit from it. And most importantly, stay with me by clicking the next video on your end screen, because it expands this topic and may reveal something even more powerful about the observer within you. For those who want to dive much deeper, the book, The Awakening of the Observer, explores this subject in detail and includes practical exercises you can use in daily life. The link is in the pinned comment. And if this content has truly supported you on your journey, you can also make a small contribution through Buy Me a Coffee. Your support helps this channel continue creating meaningful videos. The link is in the pinned comment.